One of the biggest mistake coaches make when they start their business is selling sessions. I mean, it seems logical, doesn't it? You can coach someone and they pay for your session, one for one. But selling sessions is one of the main reasons why so many coaches end up overworked, underpaid, and stuck. If you want to build a coaching career, not just a coaching job, you have to stop thinking in sessions and start thinking in outcomes. And this is how we build really effective ecosystems. One big reality one of the coaches inside my inner circle actually faced today in a discussion is his disbelief of what it takes to make £100,000 a year as a S&C coach and rehabber. And he said, I didn't understand. Can't quite see the path yet. And that's why I'm here. And my reply was, well, we'll build the system and we'll help you believe in it because that's what we do. And that is a huge, important part for any coach listening to this and understanding it. You break the numbers down, which we're going to do in this video, and we'll plot the roadmap out. But let's look at the problem. And I think depending on the area of the country or part of the world, the local financial structure and infrastructure is going to dictate pricing. But there's also costs associated with it. Everyone says, let's be a PT in London. You can charge £120 an hour, but your cost to that business is going to be 50, 60 on rent. So, it is dependent. And I'm a big advocate of lifestyle profit and understanding how we create profit to make profitable systems rather than top line gross revenue. So when we look at the typical model, you have like £40 a session, £50 a session, or even session packs, busy evenings, weekends. Income is like really tied to your hours. It's the time for money trap, and when the client stops, the income drops. So it's super hard to raise prices and increase session, and you're always chasing a new client. The biggest killer out of all of those, if I'm going to be completely honest, and I've done this, I've made this mistake even with coach education work and consulting, is to sell packs. Because what can happen is you do a pack of 10, you get 6 in, and then they go missing, or they need to take a break, and you're stuck within the boundaries of that, and then that 10 sessions can take 6 months, and so you've really diluted the cash flow on that. And so when we understand cash flow, it's a really important part of an effective business. But what I want you to grab hold of right now is that when you sell sessions, people will compare on price. But when you sell outcomes, people will directly compare you on results. So I'm a big history fan, history buff. If you followed all my coaching stuff, I'm rooted in first principles and how we build athletes. And I think it's exactly the same with how we build businesses. The industry teaches coaches kind of how to coach, but it accidentally teaches them a really, really poor business models, because the industry says you need to do it for the love. You need to be grateful. You need to work extra hard, grind, hustle culture, long hours. And what that does is you then want to make a piece and take a chunk for yourself. And then guess what happens? You're absolutely fucked, because you're so tired. You've been adopting that principle that all the clubs that want to pay you no money are telling you that this is the way to do it, when actually, in fact, it needs to be a completely opposite model. Okay, so when we think about how we're going to sell, it's really good to look outside the industry of what we're selling. You know, when we're kind of on a sessional basis, let's think about the industries that do that within the fitness. Gyms work on sessionals. PTs can work on sessionals. Most coaches start that way. So when we're trying to build a structure, if we're full of sessions, a new member into the Legacy Inner Circle program, it's like 36 hours of one-to-ones a week. I was like, what the hell do you do? Like, what else do you do? You must be exhausted. Okay. And there's no structure there. But what it is for our brain is easy to understand. It's our chimp brain. One in, one out. One in, one out. What that does though for us is actually create really low risk for the client, but high risk for you. And the reason why we want our clients to feel like there's low risk is because we're scared to let them go. We're scared to intimidate them with rigid boundaries. And it causes you more headaches than not. Coaches then start to think more sessions equals more money. It's typically is what's known used to be known as piece rate, which I think is illegal now. You used to get paid per item that you were able to produce in factories or stuff like that. So you end up, accidentally tired, broke, overworked, and not really getting much satisfaction what you're doing. So when we look at that trap and we break it down, let's look at this. There are kind of five or so big points that I need you to understand. When we sell sessions, we create these problems. Your income is tied to your time. You can't get more hours in the day. You can't add an extra day in the week. All right. There's some time productivity hacks that allow you to do that, but not working hacks. Also, in the private sector, a lot of people have jobs, even flexi time. Like it's hard to you're working before work, lunchtime, after work, weekend. So there's you're trapped in finite amount of time there. It becomes hard to scale. Now, scaling isn't adding more. It's about you doing something that creates more profit over time. Okay, that's something that scale. It compounds. Okay, you with selling one thing 1,000 times a day. That's what we're looking for scaling. You know, clients will then also compare you for session. They'll go, so, oh, Tim's 50 quid and you're 60 quid. What's the difference? For it's still 1 hour and I get to exercise. And then so there's a lack of leverage that comes there. And there's no long-term commitment. How if someone's, oh, we're just going to do a monthly. Oh, okay, cool. That's four. You've then bought your shopping for the next month, for example. So you're creating a lot of churn there. And those who don't know, churn is the loss and the decrement in business that you create. Churn is healthy in the business, but not losing one client and having to replace them every month. The schedules are chaotic. They can create so much chaos, like an hour before, oh, can we just reschedule this? Can I move this there? It creates so many problems. Your burnout risk is through the roof. No one would insure you if they knew your burnout risk. And you're building really a job and not a business. So you might as well, if you want to be tired, underpaid, go work for a club, burnt out, go work for a club. But if you want to build a business, you need to do all the opposite things, okay? And you can never step away. Think about, we were talking about in the inner circle actually this week. What does retirement look like? Because if you don't know what retirement looks like, you're just going to keep doing it. So when we're trading time for money, it's, think about it. It is fine when you're getting your kicks in, you're starting, you're flexing your chops, you're working it out. That's okay, but it's a terrible career model. It is a terrible, terrible career model. So your goal is not to fill your diary; it's to build a structure that supports your life. All right, so let's start getting practical. Hopefully, you're not sat with your head in your hands going, what have I just done? What am I doing? My life is over. I might as well quit. No, let's re strategize, refocus, because guess what? You have the opportunity to change your future. You have the opportunity. If you take control, you can do it. That's what I want you to understand. So we are going to start to build the solution. So there's many ways that you can do this, but let's think of some of the first big shifts that you can make, which I do with a lot of my clients that come into the legacy programs, and they're like, my calendar's full. So first thing you need to do, look at all the current clients that you've got. How many of them fit and require the same results? All right. How many of them you're basically doing the same session? I remember when I was doing PT years ago, I'd basically just do the same session 5 times a day because all the people were the same. So what you need to then think about is, how can I put all those people in one place at one time? If you're doing 10 hours, 10 individual hours, you could condense that to 3 hours and serve 10 clients. Okay. Then we build the business off the back of that. And if those people are all training early mornings anyway, I think you could find a happy medium where you can cater for those in the morning. So start thinking about restructuring. This is revenue restructure. And if you're, charging, let's just do simple math, £10 an hour, that's for those 10 hours you're going to get £100. But if you put them into a group and they're actually getting 3 sessions a week for £10 an hour, so they could pay £30 a week, or £20 a week, sorry, my maths, you're actually going to increase your revenue exponentially, because guess what? There's a higher value there, and there is a greater reward for everyone involved. It's a double upside deal if you can get it. All right. Then you need to stop individually invoicing. You need to invest in a payment processor. Stripe, just start up a Stripe. You get a 1% fee. It's fine. It's tax. It's cost of business, and you start putting all your revenue through Stripe on direct debits, retainers. Okay, you have a monthly coaching agreement. I have a very standard coaching agreement that I give to all my clients and coaches. And you're going to give me notice, mate, and if you don't turn up, you get paid. You get charged. It's ruthless boundaries, because there have to be. All right. And that's a couple of ways that you can really start to address the in-person side of things. But then there's this happy medium now, where actually years ago physios and chiropractors ran hybrid models without even knowing it, because what they'll do is intervention based. You go in, you get some treatment done, they'll give you a printed off list of exercises. You have to go away and do them 3 times a week religiously, and then come back in 3 weeks time. It's a very simple model. So we can steal that and rep that up. We have a hybrid coaching offer. Okay, they can have 1 session a week with you, they could have one every 2 weeks, they could have one every 4 weeks. All right, depending on the client, then you're happy to adjust that and give yourself the allocation, the allotted amount of time that you want, and be strict with it. Some of your higher, more competent clients probably don't need you to pick up their weights for them. They need the results that you're giving them. So give them autonomy. And the other one that you can push towards as well from an online coaching model is just a standard online coaching model. I'll write your program for you. You message me a few times a week, give me feedback. I can provide you with all the frameworks. We're going to do a massive call on setting up online programs, a massive video on that at some point in the future. So look out for that. But we're just setting our stall out. And what I said to the coach earlier on in the legacy about the 100K, if you have 30 clients that are paying you £250 a month, that is £90,000 a year. Okay. And if you have an essential model with a few other bits and bobs around it, you're going to clear 100K. You're going to find an extra 10K. But the process to get there and stay there is what people struggle with the most. So simple numbers, great things that you can do. So when we look at the last one, and this is a great one for rehab, are outcome-based packages. I helped a guy. He actually rehabbed 100 ACLs inside a 12-month calendar, doing a hybrid and remote outcome-based offer system. And what that is we will rehab your injury in a certain amount of time, and if you don't get it done by them, we will continue for the next 4 to 6 weeks for free. So it's an outcome-based package. We will work our nuts off, and you have to do the same till you get the results. And I've done some really mild, niggly hamstrings. Right, give me 5 weeks. We'll do this in 5 weeks, and I'll price it for 5 weeks. And that's it, done. So you get some really cool variation in there. So, some of the great things that we haven't even talked about is kind of like monthly athlete development. So setting up youth programs and academies. People really don't want sessions, they want results, and sessions are just how we deliver the results. So remember that. Remember that. So what could some of these pricing options look like? Oh, let's write these out. And if you're watching the video, or if you're listening to this, these videos are on my YouTube channel, so you can see for yourself some of the doodling. And I really like being able to do this because it allows for a great visual experience, and you can kind of see how my brain is working. So if we take this, if we were to like set up a business structure, right? We'll have our let's just say this is how I would kind of set it up, and this allows us to for the ecosystem to start to develop. So we have our one-to-one, all right, and that could be um, two sessions a week. Let's, for argument's sake, that's 300 per month. Then we've kind of got online, which would be bespoke one-to-one. That could be anywhere between 150 to £250 per month. Okay, then we look at a hybrid. So what you do is just you take what you're charging there and add the in-person sessional fee on top. Okay, so that could put that up to a high end of 300. Now what's really interesting there with these numbers, you could say that you can create a hybrid offer, 300 a month, for the price of your one-to-one. You know, I know what I'm going to start to be pushing on. Then your kind of like academy. Now this is where, or group training. Let's look at youth academies, anywhere between the 20 to 40 pounds a month is the sweet spot, but that can compound. If you get a big enough space, you can put 20 kids in there. 20 pounds a month, that's 400 a month for 1 hour a week. 4 hours, that's 100 pounds an hour that you've just built there. So when you start to look at these numbers, it starts to become like, whoa, I've got like a serious business that I can really build out here. So when everything is monthly, everything can become structured, starts to become structured and outcome focused, and there's nothing as pay as you go. All right. So when you want to really give this a go, and if you, depending on the level, like for me as a young coach, I would, if I was starting again, I would still coach sessions at the start because I need the experience, but I would move away from selling sessions as quick as possible to start to build structured monthly coaching instead, because that's where scale really comes. And getting structure is how we build a business. Okay, that is incredibly important for your listeners to understand. If you don't have structure, just like, think about how you would write your coaching training program. You wouldn't just freeball it all the time. You would have really, really important structures involved that that you can build. Okay, so thank you for sticking around and watching this video. And now that you kind of understand where we are from a don't sell sessions, basically, from your structuring of your business, you can now see that we need to start build the idea of becoming a architect of our business and not a technician. So let's stay tuned. Make sure you watch the next video because we're going to really start building it. If you're listening to this on the podcast, thank you so much. Check out the YouTube, get on my newsletter, do all the cool things because we're building something super special. And if you want to download a free copy of my S&C business build blueprint so you can build a proper coaching career, it's available in the links in the description.